So good evening, everyone. I had a little issue tonight getting my program up and going. Somehow, when I went into the Facebook, I was trying to create the title and what we're going to be talking about tonight. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to go through and just share with you tonight. The topic that we're going to be engaging in tonight is called the 3 steps or the 3 solutions to your health problems. And what we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk about what I do in my practice to help people who come to me for all kinds of different issues. And obviously, whatever the condition is, we always try to focus them back into to understanding the whole philosophy and principle behind chiropractic, because the reality is, as a chiropractor, I don't cure, or chiropractic doesn't cure anything. The body does the healing. All I do as a chiropractor is become a facilitator by helping to remove this condition we call a subluxation, or vertebral subluxation complex that you'll hear used many times. But the reality is this, is that we are here to help you really understand how to maximize your health. And my theory or my thinking is that in order for you and I to really have maximum potential, maximum health, there are certain things that we have to do on an ongoing basis to make that a reality for ourselves. So, we live in a culture today that people are dealing with a huge amount of stress. Even if you think you're not, but trust me, you are. The world that you and I live in today has gone bananas. It really has. It's upside down. And if we look at and watch any of the news stations, the CNNs, the ABCs, the NBCs, all of those stations, it's all laced with fear. And so tonight we're going to be talking about some of those things that can cause your body to start breaking down. So in our office and in most chiropractic offices, you will see that they will, and we as a group typically, and I would say most of us out there hopefully, will teach our patients about this universal intelligence, that within our human bodies we have what we call this innate intelligence, that really what it does is helps us realize and understand that there's a greater source, a greater force of energy out there in the world. I happen to call that force God, okay? Christ, whatever you want to call it. You can call it your spirit, whatever. I'm just of the firm belief that the way that I believe that God created our bodies, that it was created in such a way that every single thing that we need in order for this body to perform and do what it was designed and programmed to do, that I believe that our Creator put that inside of us. That includes making sure and knowing for sure that your immune system is a healthy, robust system that can withstand just about anything in the environment, unless something is released in the environment that is going to be very toxic to the human body. Like if you someone's driving a train full of toxic chemicals, and that chemical, goes off the railroad track, and the containers burst and all those toxic chemicals come out. Well, that's going to be some types of chemicals that are going to be really, really hard for the body to deal with. In other words, what we have to do in that point is got to get out of the area, okay? But other than that, I firmly believe that germs and viruses and all that stuff that are out in the environment, if we do the things that are necessary to bring about a strong internal resistance, okay, in our bodies, I believe that the body will have the ability, by way of the brain and nerve system, to do whatever it needs to do to bring about healing in the body, okay? So first off, we want to talk about, as we go through this whole process, got some notes here that I want to make sure I stay on point. we talk about wellness care, and it's interesting because today you can look at a lot of facilities around our communities, and a lot of the hospitals and medical facilities will use the word wellness. And so we have to understand, really what does that really mean? I know for me in our office, when we talk about wellness, we consider wellness care to be the use of natural methods without drugs to restore and maintain your health, and also help you understand that wellness is a partnership. It's really a partnership between you, the patient, and me, the chiropractor or doctor, however you want to address me, that we work together to make this experience to be the most beneficial experience that you will have on your road to recovery and living that maximum lifestyle that you would want to live. So to me, I don't like the idea of seeing facilities say that there are advocating wellness, and then once you get inside of those facilities, you're bombarded by taking all kinds of drugs and all these kind of things. To me, that is not, in my opinion, that is not wellness care. Okay? Thomas Edison had made a quote one time, and he said that the doctor of the future would give no medicine. He would interest himself in the care and nutrition and the care of the human frame. When I read that, I think that describes who we are as chiropractors to the T. So, my thinking is, as a young person growing up, I remember very clearly experiencing the allergies, severe allergies and asthma attacks, and I was one of those people, because I didn't know any better at the time, that was going in and out of medical doctors' offices, doing all kinds of testing to see if I was allergic to stuff, and then I would be put on different medications. And some of the medications worked for a while, and then once the medication wore off, I'm back where I was before. And this would be the scenario that I followed for 19 years. Until one of those times that I took the medication, I had a really severe reaction from the medication, okay? And then I was introduced to chiropractic care, and as I've shared before, that my chiropractor, Dr. Marty Brown, who is in Northfield, really taught me well about what chiropractic was all about, how the brain and nerve system worked, how that when the body encounters stress, whether it be mental or emotional stress, physical, chemical stressors, that stress that impacts the body over a period of time will have an impact on the brain and nerve system, causing a condition that we call a subluxation. Subluxation, as we described once before, or on all my talks that I give, is when the vertebra, because of the amount of stress that's put on the body, the reaction that the body will have is that it will cause a tension or stress, and will literally over time pull a vertebra out of alignment, causing interference to that nerve system, so that when that nerve is exiting off of the spinal cord to whatever part of the body that it has to go to, will cause that system to start malfunctioning. All right? And any system that malfunctions over a period of time will, at some point in time, will start to send out signals that we call symptoms. And in the culture that you and I live in, that we grew up in, that we constantly see advertisements about on TV, doing just about every commercial, is that if you have a particular symptom, that the solution to that problem is to take some drug to suppress that symptom. And by doing that, you never get the opportunity to actually identify the cause of the problem and correct the problem. So now this acute problem that could have been addressed in a wellness approach, natural approach through chiropractic, okay, now over time, whether it be a year, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, eventually will wind up becoming a chronic problem that we see typically, that is, ravaging this country today, especially when we look at the opioid problems that we have in America today, okay? So the solution, again, is that whenever we come up with any type of symptom, the solution that is given to us is that you have a health problem, you have a symptom, that the solution to that problem is to medicate, to suppress it. And if that's not good enough, then you go in and cut out whatever is bothering you. And we're suggesting to you that, to me, I think there's a better approach, and that approach to me is understanding your body and getting under chiropractic care, and then helping you understand a little bit more about how your body really works, and then working together as a team to help you move from where you are step by step over a period of time to get your body performing at a maximum level. And then your goal at that point in time would be to what? To actually maintain that correction for the duration of your life, for as long as you want your body to stay healthy. It's kind of like, I look at, you go out here and buy a brand new car. You get an owner's manual, and if you haven't, happen to take the time to read through some of the stuff in the manual, it'll tell you that there are certain periods that you have to take that car in to get certain things done in order to keep that car working properly, right? And there are certain intervals that you do that. Now, we know in most cases, like when it comes to oil in the car, every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, we're advised to get the oil changed, right? Then throughout the course of the year, you want to get your wheels rotated. You want to get your engine checked to make sure that everything is working correctly, all right? And this is something you'll do on an ongoing basis to make sure that that vehicle, that when you go out to start it in the morning, that you have a greater amount of assurance that that car is going to work for you. That if you didn't do it, then you're kind of like getting in the car and praying that the car is going to start when you get up in the morning and have to get somewhere, okay? So let's go through and touch on those 3 steps of our wellness approach. So the first one is we want to focus on, and as I mentioned earlier, as I first started talking, about this whole thing about stress. So we have to figure out what can we do to reduce the destructive effects of stress on our bodies, because remember, we talk about the body, and since we know that the brain, as you can see on the chart that I have behind me, the brain and spinal cord, well, your brain is the master control system of the human body. It controls, conducts, and coordinates every activity in the human body, and when that is working efficiently, then your body's going to be able to do what it's programmed and designed to do, all right? And that's all, we know that the nervous system basically is designed to adapt you to the environment in which you exist in, okay? So that becomes all the more reason, in my opinion, that why everyone should be under chiropractic care. Why? Because when we can keep these vertebrae in proper alignment, that's going to afford us the opportunity to make sure that our systems are working at its optimal levels, so that we can continue to do the things that we are brought here on this planet Earth to do, okay? So, in our fast-paced environment that we are living in today, also given what we've all been through worldwide in the last 2 years, you talk about stress. This is probably for those of us who are living through this period of time now, have probably never in our lives experienced the amount of stress that we encountered the last 2 years. Okay, and so anyone out there who says that they have not been impacted by this in some way, I think they're a very special person. Okay, but I know that there are so many people out there who have been impacted by the stress. I mean, just the idea of not knowing, to mask, not to mask, to get the shot, not to get the shot. Where you can go comfortably without feeling fear of people, and how we've been polarized the whole night. That's a large amount of stress that we encounter, and not knowing it, that it's impacting us, whether we realize it or not. Okay, so it's going to, when we get this kind of stress occurring, it's literally going to impact every single part of our body. And so in knowing that, then we have to figure out what can we do to reduce that, okay? So one of the things that I do in my office, and I'll get more into this, is when we go through the evaluation with the patient, we go through looking at their balance and put them on a bilateral scale. We ask a lot of questions to see where and what brought that person into the office. Look at their dietary lifestyle, look at their sleep habits, look at how much water they're drinking. And believe it or not, people just don't drink enough water today, and that can create a lot of problems. People come in and say they're feeling very tired and lethargic, and I'll ask them, how much water do you drink? Well, one glass. Well, you need water into your system. So that's stress. So when we encounter this stress, it's going to have an impact on our adrenal glands, those glands that sit on the top of our kidneys. It's going to have an impact in terms of us gaining weight. Okay, for some it may lose weight. It will have an impact on your hormones, your testosterone levels, your progesterone. All of these things can be impacted, your immunity, your heart function. Just so many things that can be impacted with the onslaught of all these stresses that we've been encountering over the last 2 years. Now, many people will think that, well, the solution to that is I will go to my doctor and he can write a prescription for me. Trust me, if you look at the prescriptions that you're taking and look at all the contraindications, you look at all the symptoms that they bring about, many times the medications that you take will literally produce the thing that you're trying to get rid of. Okay? So it becomes important that we understand that we cannot chemicalize our way to good health. That's a good thought. I like that. So we can't use chemicals they'll change how you feel, but we can't keep using chemicals in a natural environment, which is this body, to bring about health and healing. And again, I'm not telling you not to take medication, because I think there are some people who need it. But what I am saying to you is this, is that we have to understand that when we take these things, we have to understand their goal and objective. Their goal and objective is to produce, in many cases, the opposite effect of what you're feeling. So if you're feeling problems with high blood pressure, they're going to give you something to bring the pressure down. If it's low, they're going to give you something to bring it up. If you got pain, they're going to give you something to get rid of the pain. And our goal in chiropractic is, to me, and my theory and how I think about it, is we want your body to feel. Because when one is able to feel, then they become more present to the environment in which they're in, and will get a chance to know when their bodies are not performing or functioning the way that they should be functioning. And I would have to think that if a person is constantly on medications, there's no way that your body's going to have the ability to let you know what is going on within your system. Okay? So we want to reduce the stress. Okay? The next thing we want to do is we want to reduce chemical toxicity. Why? Well, I mean, think about it. And when we think about chemical toxicity, we want to look at the pollution that's in the environment, in the air, the food that we eat, the things that we're taking into our system. Like, for example, we know that when we look at the obesity issue today, even with young people, probably is larger than any other time in history. When we look at the young people today who are now developing type 2 diabetes, when in past type 2 diabetes was talked about when people got in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Now we're talking about young people. I'm talking about kids as young as 10 years old that can have type 2 diabetes. That, to me, is a sin. And it's sad to think that we live in a culture that we would allow these types of things to affect our children when, as parents, we allow our kids to drink all these sodas, the soft drinks, and all these things that are laced with sugar, that in most cases are going to be the high fructose corn syrup, that really wreaks havoc on your nervous system. It wreaks havoc on your entire system. So those are some of the things that we want to look at to make sure that we get rid of them. We have to be very conscious of also now water systems are really bad, like what happened out in Flint, Michigan. We just have so many things. One of the things I read here was that the United States ranks 29th in life expectancy, right? We are on the bottom of the list of industrial nations, despite the fact that Americans consume 50% of all drugs prescribed in the world. And there are 82,000 chemicals that we come in contact with each week. So, I had an experience of visiting a patient about 2 months ago. When I walked in the house, the house just reeked with Clorox. And after being in there for about 10 minutes, I got this really, really bad headache. And I was, amazed that someone would live in that environment and breathing that in, throughout the day. So there's a lot of things that we have to learn about and really start becoming more conscientious about what we're allowing into our environment And then when I say in our environment, I'm talking about inside of our environment, this body, because over time, remember, as I said in the past, the way the body was designed, it's designed to deal with stress. What the body has a difficult time dealing with is prolonged stress that's occurring over a period of time. Then that's when the body starts going through some really strange things trying to protect itself. And like anything else, you can only handle so much stress, and then all of a sudden the breakdown process begins to occur. Okay, so we have to think about doing and going through some type of cleanse. One of the things that I recommend for a lot of my patients, and something I recommend that they do on a regular basis, to do the 21-day purification detox program that we get and prescribe to our patients from Standard Process. It's a program that a person goes through 21 days of completely changing their diet to clean their system out, to give their internal organs a chance to rest and heal and detoxify. Okay. The other thing that I do to help with this chemical toxicity is we use what we call the 30-day roadmap to health. And we know that if we can get people to change their diet and their lifestyle of not putting any chemical toxin. When I say chemical toxin, I'm talking about all the crap that we eat: the cakes, cookies, candies, ice cream, potato chips, pretzels, alcohol, all of this stuff. If we can actually eliminate that from our diet for a period of 30 days, okay, and then through that process, make sure there's no junk food, make sure that we go through a process of, eating plenty of fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, avoid GMOs as much as we can, and if possible, you don't have to do this, but I was, if you can do the organic fruits and vegetables, that'd be really good. Through that period of 30 days, we want to learn how to take our time when we sit down and eat, chewing our foods, masticating it, getting down to a liquid, and then, making sure you're drinking water, making water your beverage of choice, not Kool-Aid, not sodas, not ginger ale, none of those things, but just plain water throughout those 30 days. And during that period of time, I also recommend for my patients to get on what we call the intermittent fasting, using a paleo diet where it's mainly a lean and green type meal plan, where we have our first meal of the day like at 12 or 1 o'clock, and you have a window between 12 or 1 o'clock noon in the afternoon until like 7 p.m. at night. And during that period of time is where you will eat mainly two solid nutrient-dense meals during that period of time. Okay, and especially if one is overweight or obese, your body has enough fat storage that it will be able to convert that fat into a source of energy. And once you get past those 2 or 3 days, your hunger is not going to be there, because hunger, really, when you think about it, it's a mental thing more than it is a real life life and death situation that people are going through. So that is one of the ways that we also recommend during that period of time that we get you out walking. Okay, so if you can get out and walk 30 minutes, if you have problems with your knees or things like that, we suggest that during that period of time that you get on a life cycle, some type of cycle, and just ride for 30 minutes. Get your body moving so you can start sweating and getting things that just kind of cleanse themselves out of your body. Okay, so during that time, we want to consider not taking in any alcohol. If you smoke, stop smoking. Caffeine, if you have to have caffeine, I would say maybe 1 cup a day. Make sure that you take it black, no sugar, no creams or anything like that in it. And if you're on medication, obviously you want to talk to your medical doctor and make sure that you have someone walking you through that to make sure you're doing the right thing. Okay, so that's how we would address, reducing the chemical toxicity. Okay, and making sure you're on some good nutritional supplementation during that period of time. All right. Now, again, we're tying all this back into chiropractic, because just look, to me, if it's kind of like having an automobile, the best automobile in the world, and you can put the best gas, put the best tires on it, you can have that thing polished up nice, but if the engine's not tuned up, what do you got? You just have a big, expensive nice looking vehicle that's not going to do you any good at all. And so this last thing we're going to talk about is, to me, is the part that to me is the most important aspect. And this is where chiropractic fits in so beautifully, and helping you understand that without a fully functioning nerve system, your body is not going to be able to function the way that it was designed and programmed to function. And this is why I'm such a big advocate when patients come to me with pain and this, that, and the other. I will always try to get them to understand that we're going to move you away from the, and I'm not saying that it's not important to address the pain factor, but what I want to do is get them moving in the direction of helping them understand that I'm more interested in their body's ability to function better. Because if I can get the body to function better over a period of time, the pain is going to balance itself out, okay? Because no one is going to go through life without experiencing some kind of pain. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the greatest athlete on the planet. You're going to experience some form of pain. You know, I always think back when, Evander Holyfield, who was, to me, was one of the greatest heavyweight boxers of all time, especially given his size and the people he was fighting at the time. Here's a guy that was under chiropractic care like 3 or 4 days a week while he was at the peak of his career, okay? And he took good care of his health. He took good care of his nutrition. He was a spiritual man. He to me, he had it all together, okay? And what he realized was that given all the stuff that he was doing, the one component that he needed to really allow his body to function at its highest level is he had to be under chiropractic care. You take the Emmett Smiths, you take the Joe Montanas, you take just about every world-class athlete today in America and around the world, they are all under chiropractic care. Why? Because they want better performance. Sure, some of them may have aches and pains, but I guarantee that the majority of them are getting adjusted on a regular basis because they know that when they get adjusted and remove subluxation from their spinal system, their bodies have a better ability to perform and function at a high level, okay? And that's what we want for all of our patients. We want them to be able to perform at a higher level, and so we have to get them out of the mindset of the pain and move them into being able to function better through making sure that your nerve system is functioning at its highest capacity. So this third component is going to be removing undetected neurological damage. And so when we talk about undetected neurological damage, we mean that when you get subluxations, you could walk around for days, weeks, months, and years and not know that you have it. And at the same time, your body is gradually breaking down over a period of time because you don't know that you have a subluxation. Now, just like with your teeth, well, if you don't take good care of your teeth, the only time that you'll know that you have a problem with your teeth is you get a severe toothache. And then generally by that time it's too late. So now you either got to go in and get a filling, or you may have to get a tooth capped, get it pulled, put a new tooth up in there, or you may have to get it pulled out, depending on how severe it is, okay? The spine, unlike that, these can't be replaced. You get one of these through your lifetime. And if we allow this system to break down over a period of time, body's not going to be able to do what it was designed and programmed to do. So for that reason, I strongly recommend that people be under chiropractic care from the time they are born into the world until they leave here, okay? I'm 69 now, and I started chiropractic late. And I say late because I started when I was 19. Am I grateful for that I started? Absolutely. But I wish I'd known about chiropractic as a young child, as a young baby. And then, for me, I'm fortunate enough that I was able to pass my information, my knowledge on to my children. So they've all been under chiropractic care since they were babies and still get adjusted to this day, a minimum of once a week. My wife gets adjusted. My mother and my pop, they get adjusted. My brothers and sisters all come here and get adjusted on a regular weekly basis, okay? So we have to understand that trauma begins in childbirth, and as a young person. It could be the first fall, could be sports injuries. As we move through life, it's the bicycle falls, it's the little league, it's the high school, it's the college sports, and for some of us who go into professional sports, All these are micro traumas that are happening to our bodies over a period of time. And as a result of that, those injuries, they accumulate over time, and those stressors that accumulate over time can cause your spine to go out of alignment, causing interference with what we call subluxation. So it becomes important for every human being to be checked by a chiropractor on a regular weekly basis at the very least, and making sure that you get checked and adjusted for the rest of your life. Okay? So, for some people, they may think that these problems are not serious, but listen to me and trust me on this. They are serious. Okay? And I have, many times I'll have patients come to me, they'll come in with severe problems, and we'll go through, do a complete workup, we'll get them adjusted 1 or 2, 3 times, and then the next thing you know, they're gone. Why? I don't blame them. Okay? It's the culture that we've been brought up in. The culture we live in is the only time you go to a doctor is when you're in pain. And when that doctor can give you some medication to suppress that pain, you think you're good to go. I'm here to tell you that that's the wrong approach, the way, to live your life. My theory is that just like anything else that you value, like, when I purchase cars, my wife and I, we buy a car. Very rarely do we buy it brand new, but we do buy them in good shape, and we typically keep the car for 10, 15 years. Why? And I make sure that to me, I drive a good car. I love Lexus. I love Toyota stuff because they last, they start, they require very, minimal maintenance on them. But we take good care of them. We make sure we get all the servicing done on them. And I'm thinking that with this physical body here, that I want to make sure that this machine is running as properly as it can by making sure that I get to my chiropractor on a regular weekly basis, sometimes more, okay, to make sure that my spine is checked, adjusted, and then able to go on and do the things that I want to do with my life, okay? So if you're out there and you see the value in this, and my hope and prayer that you learned something from this tonight, that I would encourage you to consider calling our office and scheduling an appointment, not just for you, but schedule an appointment for your entire family, okay? Your children today need to be under chiropractic care. If you think you're stressed out, you have no idea how stressed out our children are today, given what they've gone through in the last 2 years. They need to be under chiropractic care. You need to be under chiropractic care. So I encourage you to call our office. Our number is 609-383-9121, 609-383-9121. Call the office, get scheduled in here for your appointment to get checked, and make it a family affair, okay? So I hope that you've learned something tonight. Please take this information, share it with as many people as you have on your contact list. And we will look forward to being back with you again on July the 26th, Tuesday, July 26th. Remember, we will do this on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. This is our new spinal workshop. I mean, we're here to educate people who are still kind of leery about getting together. So we're bringing it to you. And so, as I said, the second, fourth Tuesday, and the fourth Tuesday night each month, 6 to 6:30. All right? So we look forward to seeing you next time. Please share this and have a super fantastic evening and rest of the week. Okay? Bye-bye now.